gave to us all she had. She worked hard every day while she worked, and we just played. She prayed to the Lord every day, asking him to guide her while she prayed. Our love for her would always grow, as her love toward us would always show. She set the example that we would need, that came through from the book she would read. This book she would read was God's book. It would tell her what to say and how we should look. Thanks, Mom, for what you have done. You have been a true loved one. We relish the days that you have gave to us and Dad, for those days have made us glad. So, Mom, I want to say to you, my love for you, it is true. So what you have done in the past, I know all of this will last. Love for the Lord and love for me, this love for both makes me see. It tells me your love for me is real and tells me just how you feel. Your love for us will always last because of what you gave us in the past. Now your days on earth are through. Our love toward you will remain true. Now that God has called you home, we will have to do the rest all alone. Even when the pain was hard to endure, your love stayed strong and pure. Rest in peace, Mom. We will meet again someday. And now I'm going to read what I wrote about my Libby. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. When I think of the beautiful woman that we are all here to celebrate today, this is the verse that comes to my mind. Many of you may have known her as Mrs. Mary Moore, Libby, the best cook of Douglas Swamp Road, or as I call her, my Wibby. Having such a godly woman to look up to in life was one of the greatest gifts God has ever blessed our family with. There were so many times where I'd visit her, and she would say to me, "Trust the Lord as he will never steer you wrong." Being just 22 years old, these words made a lasting impact on my future, as my road to adulthood is just beginning. Growing up, my Libby used to keep us great-grands, 11 of us, which now 12, every summer, and we had the best of our time of our lives. There was never a day where you didn't walk in her house without The Price is Right playing on the TV, Libby standing in her red Cardinal sweatshirt cooking, and a fresh gallon of sweet tea and a pound cake sitting on the counter. Over the years, I realized just how special my days at Libby's house were, and as I began to grow up and reminisce on how much these days turned me into who I am today. When going to Libby's, we were protected from the evil of today's world. As a child, a lot of times we never understood many of these things or why she protected us from certain things, such as certain television shows and telling us what we should and should not say as a Christian person. Which then led to us spending most of our days making mud pies out of mason jar lids, coloring on parchment paper Libby taped up to the kitchen wall, watching Tom and Jerry, and going to climbing the tree in the backyard. But you were only outside if you had your socks on, because she didn't want us to get sick. That was Libby's rule. Little did we know she was teaching us the most valuable lesson of all, to find joy in the little things of this beautiful life God has given us. This is because you can have all the physical riches of the world and still be left with a lonely soul who took all the little things in life for granted. For this is because we were brought into this world with nothing, and we cannot take anything from this world when we go. God says in the Bible, Matthew 16:25, "For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it," which is exactly what Libby did. She steered others to follow Christ and to truly love the life and the little things God had given you. Libby may be gone, but she lives on forever in our hearts and eternally in heaven, as she was a faithful servant of God's word. As a woman of God, there are many words to describe my Libby. She was a devout wife, selfless friend, loving mother and grandmother, and so many other things. At the end of the day, there is truly no way to describe her sweet soul other than truly one of a kind. At the age of 22 years old, I'm beyond blessed to say I've had the honor of having the best grandmother great-grandmother that I could have ever asked for. I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of everyone else in our family when I say that as well. I have never seen a woman have such a dedicated love for her family as she did for every single one of us sitting here today. Losing Libby is one of the hardest things I have ever faced in my life, but knowing that she was welcomed at the gates of heaven by Hunter and Shell brings me the most beautiful feeling of comfort I could have ever imagined. She is now eternally whole again as we are left here on earth with a hole in our heart. And I'm going to read a passage called Hole in Your Heart that was actually printed out and in her dining room. Hole in your heart. When you leave someone or when they depart, you end up with a hole in your heart. You cannot feel it, though you may try. Just leave it alone. It's okay to cry. God knows your sadness. God knows your pain. Just wait for the sunshine after the rain. One day we'll live where there is no sea, no separation between you and me. So carry on, brother, sister, move on. Don't waste time thinking that something went wrong. God has a purpose. We have a part. Just think of me of when you have a hole in your heart. I love you, my precious Wibby. I hope I continue to make you proud.